Hey everyone, I'm Marcy Markusa, and this is Manitoba is always about us. And right now we are in a moment of crisis in the wildfire zone in this country. Today we're going to look at some questions that you've probably asked yourself. If there were a fire and you had to get out, what would you do? What would you take? What would you leave behind? How would it feel? Two Manitobans with very different experiences will share their stories. We're going to hear from a woman who had time to think about it. She left Snow Lake. At the time, it was under voluntary evacuation. She had time to put everything in an RV, including her young child and her pet. She says having all that time actually was not necessarily a good thing, and she had her mind always on the people that had to flee in a hurry. We do begin with one of those people. In fact, Melanie Spence not only had no time, she didn't even know she was really leaving because she left to get groceries and she couldn't go back. She's a teacher. She is from Tataskweyak Cree Nation, and she left to go to Thompson to shop. And then the wildfires took hold in her community. Here's my conversation with her about what happened. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I can't even imagine this. Can you take us to that day? What happened to Tataskweyak? This was last Friday. You left to get groceries? What was going on?
Well, on the May 28th, Wednesday, there was a local fire first at the garbage dump where it was out of hand. It was worrisome. They had to use a local fire truck and 2 water trucks to get it out. To get that fire out. But they kept at it the following day. So we were happy about that. And then my husband and I decided to go to town to get some groceries there and back. And there's a turnoff there. There's a Iron North construction site where we noticed a fire. And it wasn't just a regular fire. It was way beyond the trees, and I said, "Oh, that doesn't look good because there's diesel there, there's fuel there, and anything that can blow up." And I said, "Oh, this is not good." I said, "I need to take pictures." So he started making calls to make sure that someone's on that fire, and then we found out they're waiting for the trucks to come and so on to try to put out the fire. So we left, and we were hoping that it was contained as well. But when we were in Thompson, we were told everyone's getting evacuated. So we thought, oh my gosh, and that fire must have took off then because it was scary. It was really, really scary. It spread right out.
I just want to interject here and make sure I have the facts right here. And it did take off. I mean, in the time you were gone, that fire got out of control, and it took 10 homes with it. How long were you in Thompson then? Were you like immediately stuck there?
Yes, I was. I was stuck here, but my husband and his two other colleagues flew back on a float plane, because they knew that they could help with the emergency flight if necessary, if they had to get a float plane to get people out of there, if they had to take buses, as one of them was a bus driver, and they were a good resource. So they flew back. I stayed back, and I waited for buses to come in, or whatever the plans were for council to how to get people out. So.
And you started doing a whole bunch of different things. I mean, some people are, considering you a hero up there because you started helping, with the movement of people. Can you tell us about what you've been doing?
No, it was disheartening to see people confused, hungry, because they didn't know. They were just told, pack your bag, you're going on a bus. You're going to Gillam or you're going to Thompson, whichever is safer, because that fire went over the road, that went over our main road, which is PR 280. So most people ended up going to Gillam. Then they flew from Gillam. But there were cots there. I think a couple of days, but most of the people had to be put on trains or planes. And if there was an opening for PR 280, they would get or escorted out 6 at a time. But it was better 20 at a time because they really had to get people out. And my daughter was one of them with her children, and she said you could feel the heat in the vehicle when you're in this line trying to get out.
That's so scary.
And she took pictures of fires along the way, and it was scary. It was.
Your efforts helped, I understand, with different, 8 families, at least from evacuation shelters. Because you witnessed some things in the evacuation shelters, you felt motivated, I understand, to try to help move families into hotel rooms. What were you seeing in the evac centers that made you spring into action to try to coordinate that effort?
Well, from the second day when the buses started coming in, there was infants, newborn babies that were being carried. That worried me because they're going to cots. It's either at the TRCC in Thompson or Nelson House on cots. There's no hotels in Nelson House. So I know the hotels. I know Red Cross is trying their best to register people, but they weren't. I don't know. I can't speak on behalf of Red Cross, but there were some hotel rooms. It's just a slower pace for them to get them in hotel rooms, I guess.
So you sprung
by the middle of the week, I couldn't. I was phoning hotel rooms to see if there was vacancies, and they did have for the first couple of days. But after 3-4 days, there were no vacancies. So I know the hotel rooms were full, and more people from Cross Lake were coming, and Pagadawagan. Everybody was dispersed, displaced, and there were families crying, not knowing where to go. And on these buses, I would say if you don't have anybody to go to in Thompson, I suggest you stay on a bus or you go to TRCC or Nelson House. That's your choices right now till things get better. So.
That is Melanie Thompson in a conversation I had with her about leaving Tataskweyak Cree Nation. Well, it is really, really something to watch all of the Manitobans coming together to help each other. And there's a lot of help that's needed. That is because, of course, there are some 18,000 people who are out of their homes at the time that we're talking about this podcast. As I mentioned today, though, the podcast is looking at that moment of leaving. And the next person we're going to hear from is also a Manitoban who had time to think about leaving. Because Jaimie Fleuty lives in Snow Lake in Manitoba. That community at the time that Jaimie left was under voluntary evacuation, and she decided that she would pack up and she would make her way south. She camped all along the way before landing in Dauphin. Here's what she said about the journey. Good morning, Jaimie.
Good morning.
So where are you right now then?
We're currently in Dauphin right now.
Okay. And how did you make your way there? As I mentioned, did you end up camping along the way or did you drive straight through?
No, we camped on our way. We stopped at Steep Rock, which was beautiful. And they were very, very nice to us there. And then we're just slowly making our way. We have a really old camper, so...
You have lived in Snow Lake for the past 3 years, as I mentioned. When did you actually leave? Because your mayor up there, we talked to yesterday on the show, and he just put out the 48-hour voluntary evacuation. So when did you actually decide to leave?
So we actually decided to leave the morning of. So we got prepared and left. And by the time we hit the road, they had put out the voluntary evacuation. Because most of my family is from Voluntary and Creighton, Denare Beach, so kind of knew how things were going and wanted to kind of get ahead of it.
So you left yesterday morning?
The morning before that.
The day before.
So it's almost been 48 hours now.
What's this been like for you? Especially, I'm really sorry. We're all seeing the images out of Denare Beach starting to come through and lots of loss there. What's it been like for you?
I think for me, I'm just really grateful that I had the time to pack up my stuff. I had a lot of time to pack up my stuff, whereas my family in Denare Beach, I have quite a few family members there. Even one that I know for sure that her house was completely down to the ground, and lots of the residents there, they weren't really expecting a fire to come all the way around and up and actually come to their community, so they didn't really pack the essentials that they would have if they had known that they were really threatened. At the time, it was just that the highway was going to be threatened from a totally different fire, and now there's 3 massive fires that came together and are completely surrounding my hometown, which is from Fawn and Creighton. And yeah, so it's been a bit of a shock, and I just kind of want to get down to where my family is so I can support them.
Yeah, I understand. So you have lots of ties up there. Lived in Snow
Yeah.
Lake the last 3 years. You said you're originally from Flin Flon. You got family in Denare Beach. Just so Manitobans know, right? This Denare Beach is in Saskatchewan, but this is also close together, right?
Yeah.
What's it like for people to get information? I mean, you mentioned you have family members that have lost homes. Are they seeing images through media or on socials? Or how are you planning on staying up to date on information as an evacuee?
I think it's just that we are such a tight-knit community, and we are a tri-community. Like, they call us the water in the wild, and it's Flin Flon, Creighton, Denare Beach. They're all together, and I believe they're getting a lot of images just from the voluntary firefighters that are there. I used to be on the fire department in Flin Flon, so I have a lot of really close connections to all of the firefighters that are on the ground, and they've been working tirelessly day and night, and I know firsthand just how grueling the work is, but they've been taking some pictures and videos just to give some people some peace of mind and to know what's going on. But yeah, it's hard to see the pictures, and they just keep rolling in, and more people that I know who have lost their homes and lost absolutely everything.
I know you can't betray confidences, and I'm not asking you to, but given that you're, in contact with some of those firefighters and you know what you're looking at when they're sending images and video, what are they facing? How are things going?
I haven't been able to update myself the last couple of days just because I've been pulling a trailer just with my toddler and my dog. But I'm hoping with these cooler weathers and everything that I know that they've been able to hold the line at Creighton, and that the wind, I'm hoping, has died down quite a bit. And I'm just really, really hoping we're kind of at the beginning of the end of all of this.
We of course will get some official reports in the morning. We have the premier on an hour as well. Just before we move from the firefighters back to your story, how are they holding up? Like, given that you know what it's like to be in those emergent situations, what does it take to have the stamina to do this?
Everything. It takes everything. I think they're really tired for sure. I know that Flin Flon and the Manitoba side, they've gotten a ton of support from the province and just different departments throughout the province coming down to help. And I know that they were getting some military help, I think, throughout the fires in the north as well. I did hear that the Saskatchewan side struggled a lot more, and I think even just throughout my entire time being in Flin Flon and living and working in Flin Flon, growing up, we've always struggled with that border town kind of thing. So I'm not too sure exactly the details of that, but it's been a challenge, I think, for the Creighton and Denare Beach side with getting support. So
you've been camping along the way. You're now in Dauphin, I think you said, with a dog. And did you say you have a child with you too?
I have a toddler, yeah.
Oh, how's that been?
It's all right. She keeps saying we're on an adventure, so... Good. Yeah.
What did you make sure that you packed, Jaimie? As you said, you had some time to think about this.
Everything. So my husband's still back in Snow Lake working and kind of helping with crews there. But I pretty much packed almost everything that I could. So lots and lots of clothes. My mom said she didn't pack enough clothes when she left, so I just made sure I had lots of clothes and any kind of important documents and everything. Anything I could kind of think of that I was like, if I'll miss this, I guess. I almost had too much time, I think, and I really feel for people, but I also thought, the more I pack, the more I can give to other people too, just in case.
Manitobans always giving. How are you dealing with the reality that this might, you might be at home for some time?
I don't think it's really hit me yet. I think I'm just feeling more for my aunt and a lot of my other family members who could have potentially also lost their homes, and all my friends who have lost their homes and how displaced they're going to be. So I'm really trying to be optimistic that things will turn around and we'll be fine for Snow Lake. But it's everyone else. I'm very grateful I got the time to leave, and that I'm hoping things are turning around now for us. But yeah, I feel for them.
Do you know where you're going to go next, or are you going to stay in Dauphin for some time?
I think I'm just going to try to connect with some of my other family who have lost their homes. And I know, like, my grandpa, he was in the manor in Flimfon too, so he's down south closer to Winnipeg and stuff. So we'll probably try to make our way around there and just try to connect with family. I think they've been really on edge just knowing that I've been in the north still. So yeah.
So now you're in the south.
Yeah.
I wonder what it was like when you were leaving. We're hearing stories of some of our reporters that are going north, and they're talking about how the sky changes, the smell, as you get closer to the fire zone. What was your drive down south like? Like what did you drive through and smell and see in terms of smoke and fire?
Yeah, the smoke had been really bad the last couple of days before we had left, and to the point where you couldn't go outside at all. So the further south we got, the better it got. It is a little smoky here still, but it's nowhere near what it was. We could barely see with how much smoke there was in the air at the time. So, yeah, it's nice to get some fresh air and some blue skies poking through here. And I couldn't imagine even further north in Thompson and stuff, too, because there's so many fires literally all over the north right now.
Jaimie, what do you want to say to those that are fighting the fires and volunteering? And then do you have any questions for the Premier, for leadership? He's going to be on here in an hour on CBC.
Is he? I think just keep on fighting the fight. Where I'm hoping getting to the end, and I know how hard this work is, and we're going to get to the other side, and I'll see you on the other side. When it comes to the Premier, I think it's just connecting with the people who have been displaced. And I think the most important thing is we need to figure out better ways to work with our borders and our other provinces and be able to work together, because at the end of the day, we're all people, and what affects them is affecting us as well. But I have a lot of concerns for the north as well, and all the reserves and stuff that have been affected and evacuated and stuff as well. So it's tough. It's tough because I've been very fortunate, and I'm very grateful that I had the time to leave and that I have places to stay. And a lot of people don't have that. So I'm hoping they're getting the same treatment that I'm getting all along the way down.
Well said. Thank you very much, Jaimie. All the best in the rest of your journey, and to your family. We wish them, safety and some peace in this terrible time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'm Marcy Markusa. Thanks for tuning into our podcast. This is Manitoba. Find, follow, and share. And also remember that if you are affected by the wildfires in this province, 211 is a resource where you can find more information.